In the Republican platform of 1964, adopted by the Republican National Convention, it is stated that that is the administration, has encouraged an increase of aggression in South Vietnam by appearing to set limits on America's willingness to act. And then, in the deepening struggle, it has sacrificed the lives of American and allied fighting men by denial of modern equipment. Now, sir, do you have a comment on that we could possibly incorporate into our platform?
Yes. Our policy at the present time with respect to South Vietnam is to provide to the South Vietnamese the logistical support, the training and transport assistance, the military advice, which they request of us and which they can utilize in carrying out their campaign against the terrorism and the guerrilla operations of the communist Viet Cong. We have told our military commanders in South Vietnam that they have the equivalent of a blank check on the entire military establishment of this country, and they can draw upon us for the people and for the materiel which they believe the South Vietnamese can properly and effectively utilize in countering the guerrilla operations that are seeking to undermine that government. We have never failed to respond to a request from the military commanders and the senior military officials in South Vietnam. We will never fail to respond to any such request as long as I am Secretary of Defense. I know that that is the President's policy. Next question.
Yeah. In a speech delivered by Senator Goldwater here in this hotel on August the 10th in '64 to the National Association of Counties, he made this statement, and I'd like to have you remark on it concerning what the next decade may bring. He states, and I quote from his speech prepared by the Republican administration, "Our appropriations for strategic deterrent forces of all sorts have been declining steadily. In the current fiscal year, they are hardly half of what they were 3 fiscal years ago. And what of this, the most perilous statistic of all, under our present defense leadership with its utter disregard for new weapons, our deliverable nuclear capacity may be cut down by 90% the next decade." My number one question is this: does Senator Goldwater have access to these figures, or did he have access to these figures as of August the 10th? And also, what about the nuclear strength which we can expect in this?
Yes, I think he's had access to these figures. I haven't had access to his figure. But let me say first that within 60 days after taking office, President Kennedy sent to the Congress a budget amendment to the fiscal 62 budget which had been submitted prior to the date of his inauguration. In that budget amendment, he added over $1.5 billion to increase our strategic forces, both the Polaris Force and the Minuteman Force. Secondly, in the subsequent fiscal year, fiscal 1963, the budget for the strategic forces was again increased. And again in 1964, the budget for the strategic forces remained far above the levels of 1960 and 61. Now, with these increased budgets, as you might expect, we have been able to very rapidly, very quickly build up this massive force you've seen. And I think it's to be expected under those circumstances that the budget for strategic forces, not the total defense establishment, but the budget for strategic forces will drop. I hope it will. It should.